Hello, this one is about Spotify pre-saves and why you should stop using them. So this is a strategy that kind of evolves and is different depending on where you are in your growth, your profile dynamic, your fan base, your size, all of that sort of thing. So it is a changing, evolving strategy. But for the vast majority of artists that we meet with, who are emerging, they're new, they're starting to really kind of embed and engage and promote and communicate their vision and their music, starting to get a bit of interest. Far too many of those artists are prioritizing Spotify pre-saves as part of their campaign, their promotional campaign. And understand why. We totally get why. You think it's about driving interest in a track that's about to be released, trying to get the socials working, all that sort of thing, which, in your mind is useful to then impact the first day, the release, action, activity, streaming, all that sort of stuff. However, unfortunately, a lot of the time, it has the opposite effect. Firstly, when you are trying to build engagement with a new audience, increasing your discoverability, if you start pushing a Spotify pre-save heavily before the release date, what you actually start doing is growing a slight undertone of frustration with your audience, because guess what they can't do? They can't go and listen to the track. And it's unlikely that an early adopter of yours, someone who's just discovered you, is going to be patient enough, be engaged enough, be loyal enough, be committed enough to pre-save that track and then 100% come back when it's released to engage with it. So by pushing Spotify pre-saves, what you're actually doing is not allowing an immediacy of a new audience to engage with your music, your art, creativity, your vision, your purpose, all of that great stuff. You're missing out. Much better is to, from the day of release and a good 3-4 weeks after, is be driving people to Spotify so that they have that immediacy of understanding, of engagement, of experience of your music. That way, you're not just taking advantage algorithmically on Spotify of the saves, which a pre-save campaign can do, which means, your audience pre-save and then on a day of release, suddenly all these tracks appear as saved in multiple users' accounts. That can be useful. However, that's one part of the algorithm. So many people, so many users who pre-save tracks, never ever listen to them. So you might get the save of that user into their Spotify account, but you miss out on the stream, the multiple streams, the additions to multiple playlists that they might have and look after, the sharing of it. Very few people share a pre-save link, and actually if they do, you're just exacerbating that whole scenario I've just talked through. No, much better is to have that track out and massively drive engagement on the day of release and the window of time, 2-3 weeks afterwards, where the algorithm's looking at multiple activity strands on that track. Now, another reason why pre-saves can actually be quite limiting is because you over-focus on one platform. I know you can use different sorts of pieces of software and websites to aggregate various pre-saves for other DSPs, but by far the majority of focus, even from pre-save campaigns, is on Spotify. Now, yes, that is a very important part of the campaign, of the intention, of the growth, of the discoverability arsenal at your fingertips. However, banging on about pre-save all the while before a release can actually overemphasize Spotify as the main conduit of growth and attention that you're presenting. And that can be at the expense of creating other engaging content and artistically driven communication that is going to help people activate on the lead up of the release day. So you have to be really, really focused and aware and, I guess, protective of the fact that you want people to engage with a certain immediacy to their activity. So making it all about Spotify can be to the detriment of the holistic view of how you're engaging and how you're connecting with people. Another thing to consider here is it's quite a cold interaction, asking people to pre-save your track kind of incessantly and intensely, that sometimes 4-week period ahead of release. That's way too much. So what it means is that you're constantly asking for actions. It's all about call to actions, very specifically on a singular item from your growing audience. Pre-save Spotify, pre-save Spotify, pre-save Spotify, pre-save Spotify. That's not a connection building activity. And it's also telling over time your audience that you kind of just want to take from them. I know that's probably not your intention. I'm sure it's not your intention, but the messaging, if you are over focused on pre-save campaigns, is that you just want people engaging in that one specific thing in order to help you out. Now, of course, as these people become more connected, more engaged, become fans, part of your community, they're going to want to help you out. But early on, don't be asking for too much too early, because you're going to kind of sidestep that beautiful opportunity of connection and engagement. And we don't want that at this stage. They're just starting to discover you, just starting to be interested in you, and lead with that kind of value added option. You want to give to them, not take from them. So no overemphasis on always wanting to pre-save with Spotify. It doesn't work. There's another element to this, which is on the other side of this equation, which is Spotify itself. You'll notice that Spotify doesn't have a system where you can create pre-save links. So Spotify has no visibility prior to the release date of what activity might have been catalyzed through you continually talking about pre-save my track, pre-save my track. So all that work, and a lot of artists, we talk to a lot of artists, think that it's showing Spotify that there's going to be lots of action on it. And that just isn't the case. As I said, Spotify doesn't have that visibility. Granted, on the day of release, it might get saved to 50, 60, 70, 100 accounts, which is useful. It's mildly useful to the algorithm. But again, back to the first part of this video, it doesn't really allow that whole multitude of activity on that platform to occur. So it's not as if you are telling Spotify there's going to be huge activity on this track. It doesn't work like that. You'll notice that it's almost all third-party aggregators that create these pre-save links on your behalf. So bear that in mind. Throw that out the window. If you're thinking you're going to trick Spotify or tell Spotify, not trick, tell Spotify there's going to be loads of activity, that just isn't the case. And I think finally, it's important to think about, if pre-save has become such a high priority in your strategy, your release strategy, over focus on that can completely undermine all the other amazing avenues of connection that are open to you to kind of get the interest building. If you over focus on Spotify, you can lose time, effort, the return on the investment through your time and effort of finding other ways to connect with an audience and to really engage with them, converse with them, bring them into your community, around your art. It isn't all about Spotify. Spotify is a part of this strategy, as we have discussed in another video, but it's just part of it. Don't overfocus. Think about all those other wonderful avenues of connection that can holistically go towards growing a really engaged, highly motivated, super supportive community of fans around you and your art. We hope you found this video useful. Again, as always, if you've got any other questions, you can comment below, you can reach out to us via email, check out our website, tell us what you want to know more about, and we will produce that content for you. Have a great time, have fun with releasing, go get them.